pleasure for me today to introduce Captain Yashika Tyagi, who is a featured guest at Mandhaara. It's a pleasure actually talking to her yesterday was a real eye-opener. We learned that the word Josh is central to the armed forces. And I think this is the Josh that sort of puts that dazzling smile in her, despite all that she must have gone through. Captain Yashika, ex-Army Short Service Commissioned Officer, is a Kargil War veteran. We know how much the Kargil War meant for this country, and it's in fact our vigilant armed forces that gave us the advantage of being a proud country, despite all the disadvantages they had, where the opposition had the tactical advantage of heights and many other things. It's people like this who said, and yesterday when Captain Yashika said, where does this Josh come? She said, look, people can get a salary, but who can give a salary for the Josh of being able to give up one's life in the defense of the motherland? So with a warm round of applause, everybody, please welcome Captain Yashika. She joined the Indian Army in 1994. Some of you might have been kids at that point in time. And there was this lady already committing herself to a life in the army. And this is when the army started inducting women in the short service commission. Otherwise they would have been part of our armed force tradition for a long time. In 1999, she had the unique distinction of being posted in a place where most of us can't really go so easily, because it's one of the most challenging places in Leh and Kargil. Despite being in the second trimester of a pregnancy at that time, she did not look for an easy way out. She fulfilled her duties with a firm resolve and a determined mindset. These are the kind of people that we are going to get inspiration from. She actively participated in Operation Vijay at Kargil, supervising what for the armed forces is one of the most important things to establish advantage, which is logistics. And more importantly, to ensure there are no breaches at any point in time. It's this continuous chain of logistics that makes sure that people are doing their best and defending the motherland. For all her efforts, she has won 2 medals for bravery during this operation. After retiring from the army, Captain Yashika's career has taken a wonderful turn because she has decided to become a person who will come and motivate us in multiple different ways. Her diverse career trajectory basically had her serving as a director of ECHS Polyclinic, the principal of Asha School, the administrative officer at the Symbiosis University. She's also a distinguished Josh Talk and a TEDx speaker. Many of us have seen the TEDx video. That's what motivated us to say we must hear from her firsthand. She has a regular presence on radio 91.1 FM, where she has been christened to be Warrior 2.5. Captain Yashika focuses on being a change maker, a warrior mindset coach, a professional motivational speaker, and a corporate leadership multiplier. Over to you, Captain Yashika. Please inspire us with all the Josh that you can bring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Swami. And a huge thank you to the entire Saskanian team. How's the Josh? I would like all of you to unmute yourself for a second and just reply to me. How is the Josh?
Fine, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, guys. Hi.
Very good, madam.
Hi. How high is the Josh?
Hi,
Hi,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Super. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, now I've taken over. Go back on the mute now. We roll on. Thank you. Thank you. Jai Hind. It is my proud privilege to be here speaking to all of you. And I must thank Mr. Swami for giving this kind and overrated introduction of mine. Thank you so much. Well, as I got the invite, I was going through the literature of Sasken community, the Sasken family. And one thing really caught my eye, and that was the Sasken logo, which is an amalgamation of the symbol of air and 3 distinct values that define Sasken: world class, intellectual integrity, and tech first. And I could not but marvel at the common visions Indian Army is a professional, all volunteer, world-class army. And as per the latest Global Firepower Index of 2022, puts the US at top, Russia at the second spot, China at third, and India at number 4. So we are the top 4th ranked army in the world. So yes, Sasken and Indian Army, both of us are world class.
Captain, I think you've gone on mute. You went on mute.
We request everyone, anybody, please
Okay.
do not mute everyone. Guys, mute
Okay.
yourself, not others.
It's okay now?
Yes, Captain, please start. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Was I mute throughout?
No, till you said about Sasken, you
Okay.
were not on mute, then you went on mute.
Okay, so I was drawing a parallel between the Sasken logo and the Indian Army. I said both of us are world class. Both of us have the doctrine of integrity. And of course, tech first, which is the hallmark of Sasken, the battle winning factor in future combat may not be of numeral equivalence, but technological superiority. And therefore, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I stand among my own. As Mr. Swami was introducing me and you all were listening to it, my professional career has been like a rainbow. I call it a virtual life lesson in change management. For almost 23 years in leadership. Hello? Well, for almost 23 years in leadership roles, I have learned that there is a pattern where every step follows the other and each step is unmissable. And the beautiful thing in this pattern is that it is a universal truth. And as I will share these life lessons with all of you, I'm sure all of you will be able to draw a parallel to it. Let me take you to the year 1994, where as a young girl of 22 years old, I entered Officers Training Academy, Chennai. Training was difficult. Well, which training is not difficult? Training is meant to be difficult. But in this case, it was made even more treacherous due to hot and humid Chennai weather, where a girl from North India was finding it difficult. Extreme physical training led to near dehydrations. Stone swimmer like me learned to swim and half drowned in process so many times. Endless hours of marching on that hot basalt of the parade ground, where the tar would stick to the soles of the shoe. It was aimed to bring in regimentation, build in the team in such a way that hundreds of cadets marching on that parade ground would think and breathe and move at the same time. That is what Indian Army teaches us. I learned the skills of battle inoculation, unarmed combat, even table etiquettes and deciphering fish knife from a butter knife and a soup spoon from a coffee spoon in the same breath, running 35 kilometers of death run with 20 kilograms of battle load, 4.5 kgs of gun in my hand, and a radio set strapped at the back. An army maxim goes that those who sweat in peace, they bleed less in war. Well, the lesson learned was believe in training. Train, retrain, retrain till the response becomes a muscle memory. Because training defines whether you live or die. But this is not just a maxim that stays in books. Let me tell you a story. Story of Commander Abhilash Tomy. Well, those of you who must have read about him in news, in very recently he was in news, because he is going for the second time for the Golden Globe race. There's a wonderful past to it. Commander Abhilash Tomy is a naval pilot whose passion was to join Navy as a pilot. A dichotomy, isn't it? Because he wanted to be pilot with a difference. He wanted to fly and land on a moving target. An avid sailor. In 2018, Abhilash Tomy took part in the Golden Globe race. It's a boat race circumnavigating the globe solo in a rudimentary boat. By that I mean that the boat doesn't use any kind of technological or digital aid. It is absolutely going back into the past. It's a prestigious challenge for sailors across the world. And Abhilash Tomy was living the dream of his life and doing very well. He was almost finishing third in the race. The date was 21st September 2018. South Indian Ocean was caught in a storm, an unusual storm, which tossed and turned the boats. Soon the storm claimed 2 of the 3 boats which are in the near vicinity. Abhilash Tomy's boat was one of them. He sent a distress message. His boat rolled, dismasted. It was wreck. The hell broke loose on Abhilash Tomy that day. He had a severe back injury. His spine got badly injured. He could not get up. He explains, when I spoke to him, he explained that his boat had been wrecked and he was finding it difficult to move because of his spinal injury. For 3 days, Abhilash Tomy lay immobile on the floor of the boat. With the spinal injury, his motor movements were not right. He was delirious, in and out of consciousness, but he kept sending the distress message as per the protocol. This is training, and this is muscle memory. So train, train, and train till the time training becomes a muscle memory. It becomes a reflex. Finally, he was rescued by a French vessel 3 days later. Abhilash Tomy is a man to watch out for. With a titanium rod in his spine, he is ready to take part in Golden Globe Race 2022, 4 years after that ill-fated accident, because he has an unfinished agenda. That is resilience. Well, these are the types of challenges that those who defend our nation face when they go to war. Whether one is a soldier, a sailor, an airman, a commando, or a brand new recruit, or a grizzled old veteran like me. Well, of course, mine is the beard. A fighter pilot, a submariner, a tanker, a military policeman, a transporter, or a medic. Every serviceman and women must be prepared to make contact with enemy and survive and accomplish the mission as the member of the team. That is what the training in armed forces is all about. So looking at Abhilash Tomy always fills me with the relevance of this training and pride in the quality called resilience. So this is the next lesson. Resilience. It's not over till the time you say it's over. This is warrior mindset. And this is what I have brought to you today. Navigating the corporate world is not less than a war zone. You need a warrior mindset. So let me share with you what Army says about it. In Army, resilience is rated higher than excellence. I will repeat it. In Army, resilience is rated higher than excellence. Resilience is an attitude. In Academy, the young cadets are put to intense training that they are not used to. Cadets fail multiple times, fall multiple times, but no one allows you to stay in a state of failure. You are made to get up and finish the task. The punishments, the ragada, the extra drill, physical training, extra duties are all aimed to push you to your boundaries. And this gradually brings the physical stamina up. The muscles start building. And the time to complete a task lessens. And then you find the resilience. Find those fathomless pools of resilience inside you. Not giving up is an attitude that will forge you through fire. So I hope the story of Abhilash Toby has touched a chord somewhere. Resilience stems from hardship and perhaps loss. Yes, loss. But it is rooted in a desire to continue to survive. Your survival instinct takes over. And it is even better when that survival is nurtured by the collective support of others. Because if you want to prosper, if you want to progress, you cannot be an individual gladiator. It is the team that progresses. Let me tell you another story. India's space mission, I think, is a Bible document in resilience. The rocket for India's first ever rocket launch was carried in parts on a bicycle to the launch site. Do you know that? And the launch site was a church in Tiruvananthapuram, Kumba. The year was 1963. The launch sent NASA-made Nike Apache rocket to space and led to the foundation of ISRO by Vikram Sarabhai. We had problems with SLV-3, ASLV, INSAT series, PSLV, GSLV missions. We learned from the failures and overcame the problems. The first flight of SLV-3 had seen the rocket fall in Bay of Bengal within just 5 minutes of its launch. Imagine, first 5 minutes of its launch, and SLV-3 fell in Bay of Bengal. The first launch of PSLV in 1992 was also a failure, but we were able to correct the problem in less than 2 years and carried a successful launch. And today, the string of success is for the world to see. We all remember Chandrayaan-2. We all were glued to our television sets, weren't we? The problem on the GSLV Mark III launch vehicle was identified and corrected, and it was launched within a week on July 22nd. What a resilience! And what is this never say die attitude that despite being late by 1 week, we still managed to get to that deadline? From the news reports, it would appear that the problem was small, but the ground operations involved in correcting it were enormous. The world was looking at our nation. The mission planning had to be done in such a way that even after the delay of 7 days, the lander touchdown date of September 7 was achieved. Well, we all remember. Very close to final landing, some problems were noticed. Communication with the lander Vikram was lost. We all remember. we all remember the sadness of ISRO chair. Those visuals are stuck in our memory. And ISRO is planning a repeat mission for soft landing on the moon. And I am certain, as this nation is certain, that we will be able to overcome the problems for the future missions. ISRO has the resilience required to rise to the occasion. Journey from 1980s, when ISRO wanted to launch an experimental communication satellite named Apple. But the satellite antenna had to be tested under a thermal blanket. And ISRO did not have a facility to do that at that time. Do you know? Apple was then put on a bullock cart to provide a non-magnetic atmosphere and test the antennas in the field. From that age, now ISRO is carrying out missions in full public view with live television coverage. Oh my God, this requires courage, magnitude of courage. And ISRO scientists, engineers, and support staff has led the way. I'm sure this rings a bell somewhere. So this brings me to my third life lesson. How to deal with failures. How to bring that resilience. How to stay on that path of constant efforts. Well, accept, analyze, correct, and try again. That is the formula. Accept the mistake, accept that failure. Because once the acceptance comes in, the analysis begins. Once the analysis begins, you find out the root cause. Once you've zeroed in on that root cause, you correct it. And once you corrected it, you are back in the game. But here, since I'm speaking to the techie crowd here, so techie crowd, I would like to share that if you want a different output, you certainly have to give a different input. If you keep giving the same input, the output is going to be the same. So if you do not want to repeat the failures, you will have to change the strategy. हमारे हिंदी में एक मुहावरा भी है जिसे कहते हैं सीधी उंगली से घी ना निकले तो टेढ़ा करो. What is that? That's a lesson in changing the strategy. So change the strategy. You cannot prepare in exactly same manner over and over again and think of a different result. If you want a different result, you have to change the strategy. So are you up for another story here? I bring to you a wonderful story from the Kargil War. This is the story of 25-year-old Captain Nihezaku Keguruse. This officer belonged to Nagaland, was leading the Ghatak platoon of Rajputana Rifles. Ghatak platoon is made up of the finest, the sharpest, and the best soldiers of the regiment. It is like the sharpest edge of the knife. Now, Captain Keguruse was leading this Ghatak platoon. Imagine the warriors that day. A Naga head hunter warrior leading the pack, और राजस्थान के रणबांकुरे उनके साथ. Pakistanis did not have a chance that day. The target given was Cleft Black Rock. The Cleft Black Rock was at the height from where Pakistanis were taking a pot shot at us. We had to take over this post so that our movement goes on undetected. Captain Keguruse and his platoon was given the task. Treacherous mission. Because when enemy is sitting at a height, he has all the advantage of the widened area of observation. Kengruse was going on ahead. It was dead of the night. Temperature dipped down to -10. It was an absolutely barren land with no tree, no bush to take cover. They were out in the open. They were completely in the sight of enemy. But since it was dead of the night, there was just one observation patrol at the top. But since it was the wartime, the enemy was also alert. A freak roll of stone one way or the other, an enemy got alert. And he opened the fire. A spray of bullets was shot. Luckily, no one got hurt. But if no one got hurt, I would not be telling you the story. The splinter from one of the bullets, when it caught the rock, the splinter came and embedded itself on the stomach of Captain Kengruse. He started bleeding, but the adrenaline was such, he did not realize that he's bleeding. That was how warm his blood was. One of the jawans said, "Saab, aapke to pet se khoon beh raha." Captain Kengruse said, "Fikar nahi, मैं थोड़ा बेल्ट को और कस के बांधता हूं." I will translate it for you. That don't worry. Let me tie the belt a little more tighter. That will stop the blood. He was fondly called Nibu Sahab because Rajasthanis found it difficult to pronounce his name, Nikhe Zaku Kengruse. So they called him Nibu Sahab. Nibu Sahab said, "I will lead the path." This is what leadership is. Indian Army officer never says, "Mere, tum aage chalo, main aata hu." No. An officer of Indian Army always says, "Mere piche aao. I am leading, follow me." So Captain Kengruse made a strategy that in that sheer rock that they had to climb, he led the path. He said, "I will reach at the top, tie the rope, and on that rope, all of you can climb and come up." But the test lied in climbing that rock. Since it was absolutely slippery because of the snow and because of the slippery facade of that cleft. Yahan haath rakhe, fisal ke niche. Keep his hand here, down. No foothold, no handhold. He kept going, finding something or the other niche. And then he thought of a strategy. Something he must have done in the village of Nagaland somewhere in his childhood. The lesson came tumbling out in his mind. What did he do? What was the strategy he adopted? Kengruse, in that -10-degree temperature, took off his shoes, took off his socks, because when he was a child, he had seen that this is the easiest way to climb a smooth trunk of the tree. And this is how Kengruse climbed and reached the top. Pakistanis were caught off guard. They did not know what hit them. Kengruse emerged like the god of war, bleeding from hands, bleeding from his face, bleeding from his nose because he was climbing up and he was getting grazed all over. The wound in his stomach was bleeding like a river. Off his rocket launcher from his back, aimed it and started firing one bunker after another. That night, Nikhe Zaku Kengruse destroyed 7 bunkers. And a volley of bullets came. hit Nikezaku can use him point blank. His body was lifted off the ground and he fell down into the cleft. By this time, his platoon of Rajputana rifles, Ghatak platoon, had reached up. They finished off whatever was left. They put the Tiranga Jhanda there, saluted, and just their words were carried by the wind. Neebu Sahab, ye aapki jeet hai. That is a story that always inspires me when I feel that I need to change my strategies. In order to move on ahead, there are roads that are less traveled that must be taken. Well, if the story has gotten very heavy, pizzas, anyone? Well, I am not going to serve you pizza, but I am going to tell you a story from wonderful history of Domino's Pizza. You will ask me how I'm taking you from the Kargil story to Domino's Pizza. Well, it is another story of how change in strategy can totally turn around the results. The changes implemented by Domino's Pizza finally saw the brand lift its sales over Pizza Hut. Using savvy marketing, creative ordering methods, and innovative technologies, things finally started looking good in 2010. But how did this change come about? What was this strategy? Well, back in 2008, Domino Pizza was struggling as the stocks had hit an all-time low. And despite the importance the business had put on maintaining a positive brand image, its struggles were making this a real challenge. Domino's Pizza was really facing the biggest roadblock in its history. In 2012, however, Domino Pizza was back on its feet due to a successful change management implementation. The organization's pizza turnaround was thanks to digital transformation, and it rested on the fact that key transformation players managed to convince the top management to get on board for this change. Enthusiasm trickled down through the entire business. Brand implemented new technology to support the chance. A new custom delivery vehicle with a heating oven was introduced, dubbed the DXP, which we all know. It acted as a form of advertisement. Despite only 150 being on the road at this time, it was advertisement throughout. Serving hot pizzas was the tagline. The brand ramped up its digital efforts as well to meet the consumer demand. Text messages, Alexa, Google Home, Twitter, Facebook, Smart TV, they are all methods that use by consumers to order a pizza. So Domino's leveraged the wealth of consumer data through its consumer operating system. This helped the transaction cost low, provided Domino's with insights about the preferences of customers. And then there is also the case of developing loyalty programs, introducing special offers to continue to drive up sales. Despite the successful change, Domino's has not stopped. Because if you do not keep reinventing yourself, keep being relevant, you will be redundant. So the brand has also tested the drone and the robo delivery, even partnering with Ford on self-driving options. So this goes on to prove that as the war zone was in Kargil, the war zone is on the corporate world. And change will only come if you are willing to be comfortable in breaking the comfort zone. Well, I guess I am an explorer. I'm an adventure seeker. And so this last nugget of wisdom in today's talk will be to be comfortable in breaking the comfort zone. Today, if this question is asked to me, or this kind of introduction is given to me, it is only because I dared. I dared to take the free fall. There is an army maxim that says, who dares wins. And you must all have seen the ad of, if I'm not wrong, Mountain Dew, that says, Dar ke aage jeet hai. I dared to get into Indian Armed Forces when it was the very, very initial years. People did not know what girls are going to do in army, what their capabilities are. A lot of questions were there. A lot of unanswered questions were there. How will be their training like? How will be the training parameter like? What their uniform is going to be like? How will we post them in field areas? The questions were so many. But the women had already broken the biases in their minds. We only wanted equality. We had no bias in our minds. Can you imagine? In the first batch, there were only a handful of 25. In a million-strong army, we were only 25. It was like a drop, not even a drop in the ocean. This was the beginning of the journey of a new chapter. So when we got trained in academy, there were many challenges. The first challenge was, are we equal to the male cadets? I will tell you why I say this. There are two kinds of commissions in Indian Army. One is a permanent commission and one is a short service commission. Every army officer, every army jawan has a number. We are known by that number. And that number is prefixed with the type of commission. So lady officers, despite the entry was short service, we were not given either of these numbers. We were neither the permanent commission nor the short service commission. Our number was prefixed by WS. And the commission was WSES. What is that? It is Women Special Entry Scheme. So the first discrimination was women. In front of men, you never write men's entry. But in front of women, our number was prefixed that we are a women. We were not a commission, we were a scheme. And today, when I look back, I get the logic of it. Because when you are dealing with a mammoth organization like Indian Army, you cannot be taking decisions which are short term. You have to take a decision, make a prototype, do the trials. And after rigorous trials, only then you make it like an accepted product. But the beginning years were actually like prototype. I volunteered to be in high altitude and extreme cold climate area. That made me the first woman to be there. The year was 1997. Not a single woman there. Of course, some medicals were there. But then the kind of role that I've had on the field, I had no other women there. So many people, I find it quite funny that many Jawans also till that time did not know that women have started coming into army. They would first look at me with wonder. And thereafter, when I would point at the stars on my shoulders, I would just get a big Jai Hind, madam, from them. And that, the sense of pride. But this prototype phase, mind you, is not easy. Like an eagle, everyone was watching. Is she professionally up to it? Is she physically up to it? Is she mentally up to it? And I am so glad that by the time my 2 years tenure was coming to a close, they started posting more lady officers. So somewhere I think I must have done something right. The year came 1999. My 2 years tenure in Leh Ladakh was finally coming to an end. The roads were open for more of my tribe to follow. Now this time there was a good news and a bad news. Bad news was that Pakistanis had taken control of the icy heights of Kargil. And the good news was that I was pregnant at this time with my second child. Both the things happening at the same time. It was that baptization by fire. As a logistics officer, this was the biggest trial of my life. We just had about 10 to 15 days in our hands. The area earlier had only a divisional level troops. That means we just had a couple of thousand soldiers in that area. But as the war began, we had the dependency of almost lakhs of soldiers. Those of you who are in the logistics will understand what a trial it is that you have to send those men to war and you have to equip them from their bulletproof patkas and bulletproof helmets to bulletproof jackets to special clothing. What is special clothing? These are the clothing that are designed to withstand the extreme cold climate. We had to equip each regiment with everything that they need to fight an effective war. It was an eyeball to eyeball contact with enemy. Bullets of all kinds of small arms. That is rifles and carbines and LMGs, HMGs, MMGs, right up till multi-barrel rocket launchers, pinakas, missiles, Bofors gun ammunition. And this was also the time of 1999 when we had just tested our nuclear capability. Sanctions were placed by international community on India. How to bring the Bofors ammunition from the other countries because of the sanctions. That was why. It was a mission that I think will need a completely different session to speak about the supply chain management at that time. So I will leave it at that. But the point that I will speak here is when you have the resilience, then even that baby in your tummy becomes a huge source of strength to you. My husband was fighting the war in Dras sector. Dras is the second coldest inhabited area in the world. A treacherous fight was going on there. I had an elder son who was just 2 years old at that time. I was worried as a wife. I was worried as a mother. I was worried as a mother of an unborn child. But all these faded, absolutely faded in front of my role as an officer of Indian Army, because it was a time to perform. And I very strongly believe that when you are thinking of a higher cause, you are willing to break your comfort zone. You are willing to go that extra mile to the brink of death and be back. Then the one up there. Mr. Swami mentioned that one of the radio channels has christened me with the acronym Warrior 2.5. So I will just explain what is that. They gave me the name that I am the warrior. That little child, toddler that I had in me had with me during the war was the second. And point 5, the one who was in the belly, who is not even a full entity, was that point 5. So warrior 2.5 comes from my identity as a warrior and a mother. But as I began with the journey of women officers, let me tell you that when you are a prototype, when you are leading as the frontline person, you are not known by your name. You are only known by the identity of that tribe that you are representing. And so today, almost 28 years down the line, I am so proud to say that from that WSES, the women have gotten the commission SS, that is Short Service Commission. And those who will be found eligible will also be given permanent commission. Not only this, they will also be given command of their units. We all have heard that National Defense Academy has opened its gates, and now from the short service training, we will be seeing women enter into the hallowed portals of National Defense Academy, Khadakwasla, Pune. Young 18-year-old girls will be training for 3 years and will be passing out as permanent commissioned lady officers. And well, my time is also up. I will just end. But since there is no end that is absolute, I will stop here with my vision. My vision is to see the women officers as permanent commissioned lady officers, leading their men in the treacherous field areas, because that is what people always ask, can women be in combat? And I must tell you, grow a uterus and then speak about the capabilities of a woman. No uterus, no opinion. I have been there, done that, fought a war with a pregnant belly, and today I am here sitting and telling you a tale. This is all because I did not give up. Women are here to stay. My vision is that one day the parade of National Defense Academy, the passing out parade, will be commanded by a lady cadet. I have a vision to see that one day a lady artillery officer is at the helm of BrahMos or Pinakas and guiding the firepower to put that fear into the heart of enemy by the sheer accuracy of the firepower. I have a vision, I have a dream that one day tanks of Indian Army, the squadron of tanks, will be commanded by the lady armored officers. I have a dream to see a woman submariner commanding a submarine, a nuclear powered submarine deep into the depths of Arabian Sea or Indian Ocean. I have a dream to see a squadron of Rafales being flown by the women fighter pilots. This is my vision. And so I always would like to share my best wishes, not only to the women in armed forces, but to everyone out there. And why should we just give best wishes to only one gender? This is the whole. There are two parts that make a whole. We are a power to reckon with. A company like Sasken is taking India to different heights, absolutely stratosphere. I was reading your work about how you are making semiconductors, and in this era and in this world where everything is so uncertain, especially in this field, you all are doing a brilliant job. I wish you great innings, great heights, great success. May your tribe grow. Thank you and Jai Hind.
That was absolutely inspiring, Captain. I think the Josh levels are now to be questioned. I'm sure they're extremely high. Lots and lots of takeaways. I'll summarize them in the end, but I'll throw the floor open for questions. Very inspiring stories, very first-hand information about your life, your struggles, the passion with which you spoke about women coming out of Kadakbasla and taking command and maybe, being CDS at one point in time. It's not too far away in the future. And if they have to go by the prototype, I think you've been an excellent prototype. So hats off to that. And let's let them build on that. It takes a lot of guts to be the prototype. Thank you for calling yourself that, but I think I would rather call you a pioneer. So that's a better word for me. So boys and girls, Sasians, any questions that you have, please type it in the chat window or unmute and ask Captain your question. Or do even write your comments. We will be sharing a feedback link. Please do provide the feedback because this is one expectation that Captain Yashika has, that we send the feedback and she finds it useful for her. Being a motivational speaker. So questions that are coming in, I could see several appreciations. So Jai Hind, Madam, Jai Hind, Captain, dear all. Okay, this is my colleague is putting on the feedback. Any other question that you have? Okay, there was one question asked, like, how was it to become a captain and get that position of leadership? Any reflections on that for that question, Captain?
I did not get that. Can you please repeat it?
Yeah, so someone's just asking the question. Probably they think, even I think so. The captain is a rank you earn. So how did you feel when you earned that rank, and what was?
Okay. So Army has a rank structure. We begin with lieutenant. Well, way back in my days, we used to pass out with 1 star on the shoulder, and we were called second lieutenants. And then we get 2 stars, that is the second lieutenant, and we get 3 stars, that is the captain. And thereafter, major, and then lieutenant colonel and full colonel, and that's how the hierarchy goes on ahead. So I earned the rank of captain at the completion of 3 years of training, and I was beside myself.
Perfect. There's a comment that's coming in from Rupa. There's of course several of them saying Jai Hind, Madam. There's Rupa who says very much inspirational. Thank you, Madam. There's Karot Naveen who says Jai Hind, Madam. I think you would made Jai Hind the word of the day today. The second word, of course, being Josh. There are lots of likes on that. There aren't any questions yet.
Swami sir, Srinath here. If you
yes, Srinath, please go
allow
ahead.
Me to just say a few words here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Captain. It was it's a privilege to hear you speak. And my friend, Major Dr. Narendra was in Army as Short Service Commissioner. He's my classmate. He's my friend for the last 48 years. We stay nearby. We are neighbors too here. So very proud to have him as my friend. And it was very emotional thing to hear you speak. Thank you. And thank you for a quite inspirational speech, and even not just the Army stories, even the Domino's Pizza story. I'm sure all of my colleagues in this call will be very much inspired and embrace the challenges that we face in this corporate world and probably overcome successful. Thank you very much.
And please convey my regards to the man in uniform.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
I missed out. I had cleared both the written tests for Army as well as Air Force. My parents didn't allow me to join, so.
Josh, today I'm not wearing uniform, but you cannot take away that from me.
Correct. I myself was an NCC cadet for 3 years, attended the Republic camp, a gold medalist and a bronze medalist in RD camp. So
amazing.
So, yeah. Thank you very much, ma'am. It was quite inspirational.
Thank you, Srinath. Thank you for sharing those nice and very richly deserved words. Sandeep Sudarshan, what will inspire women from a civilian background to join the Army? Question from Sandeep, Captain, to you.
Sandeep, I would really like to, really reflect on this question, because I feel if ever there was a good time, a better time to be born as a girl in this country, it is this time. If ever there was a better time to join armed forces, it is this time. Indian Army is not like any other organization which will first take you as an intern and then groom you. From day one, you are a leader. From day one, you wear the same uniform. From day one, you get the same ranks. From day one, you get the same responsibilities. From day one, you are expected to perform. And so the charm of wearing uniform and the charm of leading a life which says that every man apart, an emperor. And this is a quote which inspires so many, that we all wear uniform for the josh of it, for the love of our nation, and of course, to see a better human being in us.
Wonderful. There's a question, Captain, asked saying, yeah, how did you medically manage your pregnancy at that height? Most people find it, I guess, difficult to even lead a normal
Yes.
life during that time, and you have so much more going on in you. So that's a question that's come from one of our girls in HR. So
Swami, so it is actually very interesting, because since I was the first lady officer there, we did not have a gynecologist in our military hospital. So we did not have a gynae. For any of my gynec tests, I had to take a flight, come down to Chandigarh to our command hospital, get my monthly checkup done, and then be back. But since the war started, absolutely there was no movement. We were in the war zone. I remember for 7 days, I did not even go back to my place of residence. I was there in the office, day in, day out. Aircraft upon aircraft, load of soldiers were coming. We were equipping them. But the question here is that how I was managing. It was actually, even before the war also, it was quite testing, because my body is not made for that high altitude. I'm not born a Ladakhi, right? And a pregnancy at that altitude takes a toll on you. Everything that is advised in plain areas is absolutely turned around. I will give you an example. In plains, we are told, have iron-rich diet. It's good for the fetus. But in high altitude, I was told not to have iron. No iron in any form. Because for iron to break down into your body, for the hemoglobin, you need oxygen. Since oxygen is so rare there, if you have more iron in your diet, you may just self-abort your baby. So likewise, there were many constraints. But as I say, God is kind. Other than high altitude, there was no other complication in my pregnancy. It was all normal pregnancy. And I just thought that pregnancy is not a medical condition. I never thought that.
I think it's everything that you summed about attitude. You once again reflected it in your personal life as well. There are many other comments, some from my colleagues, Rashmi, who heads our prevention of sexual harassment. She's been our chairperson for that. She says, you're an inspiration, Captain. Thank you very much. There are others who have said, thank you, Captain. So there are these thank you messages that are coming in. I think the wonderful thing about what you said is you so beautifully took all your learnings from the armed forces, your courage to be a pioneer, I'll call you that, not a prototype, as I said, and packaged it so well for everyone, even civis like us who basically never see these kind of complexities. You talked about training and muscle memory. I think that's a very important lesson for all of us. You talked about resilience trumps excellence, which is a fact. You can go chasing after excellence, but if you're not resilient, it'll break down at some point in time. You mentioned about teamwork, and I don't think there's a better place of teamwork than the army. What is leadership all about? Mere piche aao. So I'm there right in front of you, and the inspirational story of the captain from Nagaland who gave up his life, I guess, in this quest to get us the tactical advantage of height, leading his troops from the front despite or near fatal injury. Learning from failures is a very, very important thing. You also talked about courage and getting out of the comfort zone. There was a model that you gave, which can become important for all of us: accept, analyze, correct, get the root cause done, and try again, you will succeed. That's such a perfect model that can work in anything. Even in a relationship, it can work. In a company, when you're doing something, it can work. So excellent. The beautiful way in which you put it, change your strategy. You know, the way the captain removed his shoes and socks and did that, he got back to his childhood. Something told him that you're not going to get through this rock this way. The results were different. Otherwise, he might have slipped. So simple things like that, you really did inspire. Road less traveled, you know, create your own road. I guess that's what you meant. And not only that, like Srinath, my colleague, observed, you connected it to even something as mundane as pizzas. As to how the Josh came in creating that buzz and that change. Your stories of inspiration will continue to be there with us for a very, very long time. I hope for some of the youngsters, it becomes muscle memory for them. There's somebody I would like to read out what he said verbatim. I'm getting goosebumps by listening to your story. Really, you're a true inspiration. Jai Hind, madam. So I think that's a beautiful tribute, Shiv Shankar Ragi. Thanks for typing that out in the chat window. I think it echoes the sentiment of every one of us listening. So with all Josh, let us all clap, unmute ourselves and clap and say Jai Hind to Captain once. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
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 Jai Hind, ma'am.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind, ma'am.
Jai Hind, ma'am.
I love it.
Jai.
So everyone, please provide your feedback. We owe it to Captain. We need to summarize it and send it to her. So kindly type in your feedback. Please write a detailed feedback. We appreciate it. We love your attentiveness. Thank you very, very much. God bless everybody. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind, sir. Jai Hind, madam.
Jai Hind. Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So those thank you messages are coming. Please keeping them. There are lots of likes on each thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. Please keep it coming, guys.
Can I sign out now?
Yeah, we can sign out, Captain. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you so much, Captain. We really are proud to be amongst people like you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.